Good morning, Greyhounds, and welcome back to Good Morning Greyhounds, Season 7, Episode 8. I'm your host, Katie Dotson. In today's episode, we're joined by Kaitlynn Miner, who's heavily involved in the music program here at UIndy. Since being here, she was recently a part of Evening of Song, so we'll get to hear some more about that and all things musical. So we're so excited to have you. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So this whole thing is about Evening of Song. What was the theme? Tell me all about that night,
Okay, so this semester's theme was A Night at the Opera. So every performance was either a duet, trio, or solo from an opera. I did a piece from an operetta called Oh Mon Bel Inconnu, which was a trio that I did with two friends, and it was about a French man who's a hat maker and being married to him, and then we're all secretly meeting up in a rendezvous with him, which was really fun. And then I did a solo piece from The Merry Widow, and I sang Merry Widow Waltz.
Sweet. So what extra preparation did you have to bring to the table with this one? Because, I feel like operetta, that takes a lot of guts to do.
So the pieces we performed aren't like your big heavy hitter opera pieces that you think of, like the Queen of the Night aria or like Marriage of Figaro, which is a really popular opera. They were pieces that were well known. Like there was a piece from the Marriage of Figaro that a friend sang that's pretty popular, but there weren't anything that we couldn't achieve. We always strive to challenge ourselves, but not push ourselves to where it's unachievable.
Yeah, absolutely. It's tough work to do. Like I just told you before, like I have done almost everything in a music department besides choir, Like I push myself hard, but I know that I can't do that. So definitely. So how's the ensembles and departments approach to this different than any of the other concerts you've done? Because I know that this is the not your departmental. This is your master class performance.
Yes.
What's different about that?
So there's a master class for each music major. So there's piano master class, music industry, music therapy, voice, instrument ones as well. So the voice master class, what we focus on is like staging techniques, vocal techniques, and it's an in-class performance in front of your peers that's memorized and monologued to work on what you might use for your jury or your departmental. And this semester, the approach was, get through the normal syllabus, and then we focused on, okay, let's see these solos that you want to do, these pairings, work on them in class, stage them, run them on the stage with props and our accompanist. We love her. She is fantastic. And then just put it all together. And it's a different type of performance because most of us only get to do departmentals, juries, choir, and there isn't a lot of other solo opportunity stuff, and this gives us one more opportunity to show ourselves.
Definitely. And so we talk about juries and master class, and somebody who's not in the music department probably doesn't understand what we're talking about. So can you explain what like juries, departmentals, and recitals are? Like what's the difference?
Yes. So juries are your end of semester final that we do during finals week. So each instrument or voice major will prepare a piece, and then they will also have a piece chosen for them, at least for voice, and you have to cold sing that piece that's memorized. So like let's say I go in a foreign language piece and then they choose my English art song piece, and then after that, if you've been through diction, music theory, and oral skills, you will do some sight reading of music and then some cold cuts of different languages. So we have Spanish, Italian, French, and German. But what we did last semester and we're continuing with is actually preparing those ahead of time to come with the best outcome. And it takes a little bit of the pressure in the moment to like read a foreign language on the spot when you're kind of nervous. Mm-hmm. So it's a really good chance to show what you know and then like look for what you need to progress on.
Yeah, and definitely. And I understand that, having that space to have people similar to you and your similar interests to, talk about performing for your peers, that's definitely a huge step, and being comfortable with performing and, just being a better performer. You have to have those improv skills, because I used to be terrible about that. I was like, I don't want to learn how to do any improv. Like cello is not an improving instrument. Don't even think about it. And then I was like, started to get into drums. I'm like, okay, well, I think I kind of have to start doing this. And then started doing lessons with like Dr. Terrence Mayhew. percussion director. Fantastic, man.
love
Love him
him
so much. We actually had him on the show a couple episodes ago. But yeah, I've had to get into that, and that's just, it's so tough. And especially covering all those areas of like the foreign language, like I couldn't even imagine doing that. So that's awesome that you guys have that kind of space. So bouncing off of that, I heard that you've been in multiple evenings of song concerts, and they have their own different themes. So what's been your favorite concert to perform out of these?
I really loved this semester's theme, but I think last semester, which was our Baroque evening of song, kind of took the cake a little bit. It was
Baroque is one of my favorite. Like,
I love listening to Baroque music. It was just such a different quality or like style of music that we hadn't really done a focused set on before. So my first evening of song, I did the Tonight Quintet, I believe, from West Side Story with a group from my opera scenes class. And then we also performed the Hum 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 Quintet from Mozart's Magic Flute in a Departmental because we couldn't perform it at Evening of Song. And that one was kind of just like anyone sang what they wanted to, that like they chose. And then we didn't have one the following, no, we did have one the following fall. And it was also just one of those, you kind of sang whatever. And then we missed a semester somewhere, I believe. And then we came in last fall and we were like, we want to have a dedicated theme. And one of our professors, Dr. Stephen Ricards, is a part of a Baroque ensemble called Echoing Air. So we collabed with them and sang Baroque pieces, and they played with us, which was really cool. And the challenge with that was that when we sing at what we call like the 440 pitch, that like most instruments are tuned to nowadays, but Baroque instruments are tuned like a half step lower. So you learn a song up here, but then you have to kind of bring it down here a little bit, and like in the spot when you're rehearsing with the ensemble, just kind of work through it.
And so I know you just kind of went into what Baroque is, but is there any other details for people who maybe don't listen to any sort of like older music, what that means? Like
Baroque music, a lot of it is most of the classical pieces that I think most people would know. If I had to say, they all come from like specific eras, and Baroque is really popular when people just classify something as classical music. But we also have like the Romantic era, Impressionists, and like so many different like diversities within those. And I think one of the really unique qualities about Baroque music is just the sound quality of the instruments. Like our pianos today do not sound like the instruments they used back then.
Definitely not a harpsichord, like absolutely, or a pianoforte.
Yes.
Yes. And so hopping back to the evening of song thing, so all of the ones that you have been, can you like tell me what all those other themes were? Do you remember?
Okay. So my first two evening of songs were kind of just evening of song. That's what it was called. Like we sit, we sing. Well, we sit in the back, we sing up front, we return to our seats. And then we also had the one, which was my first one, where I said like we had that ensemble piece, which was kind of new. Like duets and trios have been a part of it, but having a larger work was new for that one. The next one I participated in was also just like the same kind of thing. There wasn't really a theme. And then we came in last semester with the Baroque Evening of Song, this semester being a night of opera, and then we have a really exciting theme coming up for the fall. I have it right here. Oh my gosh. It's called Dialogues and Madness, Then and Now. So what we're focusing on is half Baroque music with Dr. Ricard's ensemble Echoing Air, and then the other half will be scenes and dialogues from operas and musical theater. So it's like a little clash between the two worlds. It's gonna be really fun.
Yeah, it sounds really exciting. Like I'm definitely gonna have to come to this one. Like sadly I wasn't able to go to this past evening of song. I know, I'm sorry, something came up, but I definitely have to come to these next ones. I'm really like, I think the themes really bring like excitement. It makes the students excited, it makes the audience excited, because I mean sometimes when you like you go in like when you think choir concert, everybody, or when you think band or orchestra concert, you just have this one image. But having stuff like this, and I did go back and watch the Twitch stream because we do stream all of the concerts on Twitch. Go and check that out.
Yes,
I went back and I watched it, and it was really interesting because I didn't know that you guys just had these little tables and stuff like that. And I was like, is that just this ensemble thing, or like is that a normal kind of setup?
So that was a new setup this year. We kind of wanted to have a little bit of a coffee shop cabaret feel to it and bring people in and be a part of the story as the audience on stage as well. So a lot of us participated in other friends' piece, dancing, standing,
I
or
thought
just
that was awesome, by
interacting.
the way. I thought the dancing thing was like, oh, that's so sick. Like, I wouldn't think that you could do that there.
Yeah, our focus this semester was really working on our use of staging, because a lot of the time in choir it's stand and sing departmental, stand and sing, a little hand gesture, but we wanted to focus on the physicality and kinesiology aspect of storytelling.
Definitely. Oh, that sounds really exciting. So, still going on the themes, if you could pick, I know this one was already decided for the next one,
Yes.
but what do you want the next one after that to be? Or what would you like to see or explore in your choir journey?
Okay, so choir, we have like different themes, but specifically for voice masterclass and evening of song, Dr. Westra, if you're listening, I would love to do a larger musical theater set. So not necessarily a whole musical, but doing some more collaborative pieces of ensembles that we can do some solo work, some duets. There's so many like versatile pieces in musical theater because you have different styles. There's your golden age pieces, contemporary, there's pop rock, and then you have just even within that ballads and up-tempo songs, which brings such a different storytelling quality.
Definitely. And yeah, I know you're a theater kid, and I'm also a theater kid, so I would really like to see that, and thinking about all the famous operettas and stuff that you guys could do, it makes me so excited just thinking about it, because I am a very much a Sweeney Todd fan, so.
Sweeney is great, but if you're into musicals, Next to Normal opens next Wednesday, April 15th.
I'll be there.
Great, come see me and my friends. We would love to have you guys there. Our shows are April 15th through the 18th at 7 p.m. as well as a 2 p.m. matinee on Saturday. And tickets are free for UND students, which is a great perk to get some art and seeing something without having to pay for it, because I know college can be expensive. And it's LP credit.
Definitely. Awesome. So there were multiple moving pieces and elements and a few duets and trios like we've already talked about. How do you think the specific collaboration benefits the ensemble? Because we talked about how you have your other choir ensembles and then you have your master class. What is the difference of having that master class and those collaborations compared to something else?
Yeah, so master class, like I explained, were those focused groups within the music major. And we meet on Wednesdays for departmentals where every student is required to perform a piece, memorize, just to work on performance. And there are some opportunities for collaboration in those aspects. And then on Fridays, like I said, we work through the syllabi of just working and workshopping a song, because a lot of us have a different individual professor than our masterclass teacher, so it's another outside perspective. And just having that separation in one-on-one with your focused group is different than choir, because choir is made up of a lot of different majors and grade ranges and interests. Some people just come because they want to sing. Some people are like, oh, I'm a music major, this is required and I love to be in it. We have a few students who what we call triple choir, because they're in all three of our ensembles currently. Most of us are required to be in 2 large ensembles, and some people also will participate in Latin jazz, suite, or pop band. So,
Definitely. And so I can't speak for all of the master classes, but I haven't seen many others having a specific concert for their instrumentation group, like the master class Evening of Song concert. Do you think that this should be implemented in the other ensembles? If so or not? If so, yes, no, why?
I mean, if the other ensemble or instrument groups were interested in it, I think the more opportunities to perform there are, the better. But they all do a lot of really great work, because I know they have smaller ensembles that perform. There are some student-made ones, and they'll perform in departmental or on other concerts. And then there's also the collaborative piano concert, which I know is a bunch of the piano students together, and then some who are also just interested, and they play pieces together. So they have something kind of similar, but I think it's a little different than the voice major aspect of it. But I think that everyone in our department works really hard to bring forth the best music they can.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it would be a good idea to implement that in our other master classes, because before I changed my major from music ed to communications and media, I was in our string master class, and that mostly focused on our private lesson journey and bringing that and performing and focusing on that performing in front of your peers. And I feel like it would have been a more collaborative effort if we had put a piece together or had something, Of course, everybody has their own things going on, and with strings it is different than choir, everybody always is different, but I think it would have been good for us, or it's something good to implement, at least one piece or something.
I think what I would love, honestly, is maybe a collaboration in between strings, brass, woodwinds, and voice. So being accompanied by other students.
Definitely.
Like a cello and a voice
and
would be amazing together, or just something that kind of goes together. I think when we did Magic Flute, we just had a piano. We might have had a flutist, but like having someone playing flute might have been really cool to go along with the ensemble.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it would be a good idea for a departmental to come it'd be a good idea for our departments to come together a little bit more.
Yeah, I think the collaboration would be really cool to get us involved, because a lot of us do kind of stay in our own little areas, like music ed, music therapy, jazz, choir.
Definitely. Yeah, everybody kind of has their own little subsection groups, and there is some transferring between, because everybody's in so many different ensembles, couldn't even imagine.
And everyone gets along, and everyone's friends with each other, but it's just not the opportunity all the time to work individually with, like, let's say I don't really work with anyone in jazz.
Yeah.
I do frequently work with Ethan, who does a lot of the percussion for concert choir, so thank you, Ethan, for all of the work you do.
Yeah. Definitely. So thank you for sharing your experience with the Evening of Song. Coming up next after this quick break, we will have more from Kaitlynn, but more on the technical side of things. See you soon.
Welcome back to Grand Slam Sports. I'm Jay Saj, and I'm going to be your host tonight.
And I'm your co-host, Charles Foster.
And I'm Jackson Strasburger, your sports analyst.
And that'll do it for today's edition of Grand Slam Sports.
Tune into Good Morning Greyhounds on UND TV on YouTube at 9 a.m. on Saturdays.
Start your morning right with entertainment, interviews, and games all on Good Morning Greyhounds on Saturdays at 9 a.m. And you can even spot a Greyhound.
And we're live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good evening and welcome back to UND TV News.
For the campus, local, and national headlines you need to know, tune in to UND TV News, Mondays at 6.
Take it on a game-winning buzzer beater, long range.
Ladies and gentlemen,
at you, Freddie. We got to get off TikTok.
That's what I'm talking about right there. Paul Salinskis getting them threes up.
What are you talking about? Whoa.
Due respect putting Anthony Davis up there. I do
he stinks
but
too.
Just give Paul Pierce the ball with 10 seconds on the clock. He's getting you a bucket.
Talking about Andre
Iguodala.
Paul Pierce.
You know, it's a great episode when we're screaming.
Jay Kelton to my left, Latif Mustafa, Addison Mosley, Rick Dunkel, this entire UND TV staff for having us on the desk. Last call.
Alrighty, welcome back from break. We're here still with Kaitlynn Miner, here talking about the choirs at UND. So just to get some more context with our topic, tell me about your experience with the ensembles here at UND.
So I have been participating in ensembles since my freshman year. I've been in 2 ensembles every year. So my freshman year, I was in treble and concert choir before switching to Scola and concert choir. The past 2 years have been my focus. In Scola, my first year was an all treble voice, and this year it is back to being an SATB choir, which for those of you who don't know what that means is soprano, alto, tenor, bass. So your 4 main vocal groups that most people are classified in. And then we sing a lot of different styles of songs, and it's really nice to just get that difference with Schola versus concert choir.
So what is Schola?
So I think in the past what it's been explained as traditionally was like an a cappella choir kind of, and we do a lot of a cappella works, but we do some that are accompanied, and then a lot of the time it was focused on earlier music or foreign language pieces, and we do still do that and explore a lot of different varieties and genres, but we do have a set coming up here in a few weeks that is a little more pop, and then we have some like really fun plays on some instrumental works that I think are really interesting.
Awesome. So excuse me. We previously, before the break, talked about how you've been a part of multiple evenings of songs. So how has the preparation for these events changed, and what's changed educationally with these concerts?
With our first few evening of songs, we had more students. So, just as the years go, people graduate, different majors. Now that we have music industry and music therapy, those people who are still in choir and take voice lessons now go to those master classes. So ours have kind of gotten a little bit smaller in size, and the first few I was in was a lot of solo preparation and then just running like in class or on stage, versus the Baroque evening of song. What we did was we met on a Saturday with Echoing Air, and we rehearsed for about 10 to 15 minutes with the group, ran your song, got a recording of it, and then you came in prepared on evening of song to play with them and sing with them. Because they're working professional musicians, there's not a lot of time to set up like, every week on Wednesday we're going to rehearse. It's just not like that in the real world. And then for this evening of song specifically, a lot of us met outside of class times. So the duet and trio, we met separately to work on different things, or there was a solo piece that had another student like miming and acting on stage as part of the storyline. So they worked on that in master class or like on their own time. So there was just more of a collaboration and planning involved, and it wasn't just like solo preparation.
Definitely. So we talked about the master class. How do you think that master class has changed your approach to the choirs and changed your approach to just music in general?
Yeah, master class has greatly impacted my solo performance and my performances in choir, because we've had different professors teach it over the years. Like we've had Dr. Hacker, who retired, we've had Mark Gilgallen, we've had Dr. Westra, and they all bring something different to the table, and just these vast minds of knowledge and ways that they teach. So a lot of our focus in masterclass works on the storytelling aspect, because you learn your notes, dynamics, you work on some of that stuff in your lessons, but then you go into masterclass and you get feedback from your peers, you work on it in real time with an audience and with sometimes a different professor you're not usually working with. And then that translates into choir, because you get new vocal techniques, just new ways of thinking about music and storytelling and how to better put yourself out there as a singer in choir and connect with a group.
Awesome. So talking about performing, it's a big thing. It's hard to do, especially if you're not used to it. I know that I used to get a lot of performance anxiety my senior year of high school. Have you experienced any performance anxiety, or is it kind of over for you? Is performing that big of a thing anymore?
I mean, it really just depends on the day or the time. I think a lot of it mostly is excitement or nervous energy that I can channel into energy. I did a training program in New York last summer, and we had a guest artist who came in and he said, "Are you nervous?" And if you said yes, he'd go, "No, you're not allowed to be nervous. You're supposed to be excited." And even if you feel nervous, you tell yourself you're excited, and it refocuses that energy of "I can't do this, I'm scared" to "I got this, I'm just gonna go for it." And I think a lot of the times I go in with that mindset, or it's there's a little bit of nerves, but that keeps you on your toes, because otherwise you can be complacent. And when you're complacent, you're not thinking, so you'll go on autopilot, and then that's when mistakes happen. Because if you're not focused and intentional, you'll mess up your words, you'll mess up your notes, you'll mess up your timing. No matter how well you know a song, if you think, "Oh, I can just go there, do it, it's a piece of cake," if you're complacent, it will go wrong. So it's a really driven form of art. You have to be involved.
Definitely, and that's a really good mindset to have, to be extremely focused for performance. And I know that you probably have to be extremely focused for opera because it's so challenging. Of course, it's in another language. You have all of the different levels and stuff. Like I've seen multiple operas and operettas, and like I couldn't even imagine. So, what mindset do you have to prepare and perform this type of music? Did what you learned in New York help you with this past evening of song?
I think some of the vocal techniques and training that I picked up in New York really did help. But as for the focus and mindset while preparing, it's just learning your what we call diction or text in the foreign language and really learning the vowel shapes and what consonants and vowels are stressed and what sounds they make and how that translates into singing, because the way you normally speak French, like as a civilian on the street, is a lot different than how a singer on a stage would. So focusing on that. And there is like a sound quality that's like different between operettas, opera, and musical theater, but they really closely translate with the whole storytelling aspect, the staging, the intentionality of everything. I think that kind of sets them apart a little bit, is just like the foreign language and like style a little bit.
Definitely. So, is there anything else that I haven't asked you already about the evening of song or the master classes or any part of your choir experience that you'd like to share?
I would love to invite you all to join us on April 26th at 3 p.m. in Ruth Lilly Performance Hall for the spring choir concert. As well, if anyone's interested in joining, please contact Professor Lopez at lopezc@und.edu, I believe. We would love to have you talk to us, come join one of our choirs in the fall, come see our performances, or just join us for a day to see if it's something you might be interested in. It's a great way to meet new people and like put yourself out there. And I think a lot of people can benefit from the skills they learn in choir. It's not just singing, it's working together. I know we've said it multiple times, collaboration. It's art, and it's a connection between peers that I know a lot of us don't get anymore because we're so isolated and on our phones and in our own lanes. But it's great to come together with a group of people and make real music together.
Definitely, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. So, thank you for joining us on this episode of Good Morning Greyhounds. Be sure to check out all of our other productions on YouTube to stay up to date on all things entertainment, news, and sports at UND TV. Have a good morning, Greyhounds.